Sports Rewind Media F1 chats with Matt. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Oh, fantastic, mate. At work, so recording this one in our crib room. Maybe we get a game of darts in the background. I'm not sure, but mate, the F1, the Canadian Grand Prix, was a cracker. What was your thoughts?
It was better for you guys than it was for me.
Yeah, no, it was. I enjoyed watching it. The qualifying, we're just talking off air. The qualifying for me was one of the best bits. It was a really epic qualifying session. But yeah, I guess your thoughts overall on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, certainly qualifying was the better part of the weekend, I felt. I mean, still a bit sour about the race, typical Lando. Pleased for Georgie Russell, though. And as far as the race was concerned itself, he controlled it from the front and really maturing into a really good race winner and a team leader for Mercedes, just as he might be about to be leaving.
Yeah, so interesting there. You say he might be leaving. What's the chances of him getting re-signed, do you think?
Well,
After
they
big win
say
like
that. Well, this is why Mercedes are absolutely mad to let him go. But they say negotiations are continuing. But now all of a sudden, we've got the Fernando Alonso talk in the paddock, where he was being seen having lunch and meetings several times with Alpine. So now rumours are swirling that he might be returning to Alpine, and instead George Russell moves over to Aston Martin to be the team leader there.
Interesting. So I guess we won't really know until it all sort of comes out in the air, and that'll be later in the season, I would imagine.
Around the summer break, I reckon, but certainly his win this weekend in Canada certainly probably put a few extra numbers on the end of his contract.
Yeah, absolutely. I think is that his win number 4 or 5?
Number four now, I believe.
4,
yeah,
yeah.
number 4. Yeah, so
impressive for him.
I've never really been a massive fan of George Russell myself personally, even though he's a Brit and we have to support our Brits, but it's just always been a bit too emotional for me. But as he's maturing now, and he seems to be one of the main ones, along with Oscar, that actually takes the fight to Max and won't take his crap. And I quite like the old shenanigans this weekend and the way he was kind of digging and poking at Max all weekend, which is quite fun.
Was fun. Hey, let's talk about the incident. I'm not going to dance around it any longer. That was the highlight, I guess, of the weekend.
Pretty much
to go, and Lando basically runs up the arse of Oscar Piastri. What was your take?
Just typical stupidity of Lando at the moment. He's just lost his head. Credit to him, he held his hands up straight away and turned around and said, it's my fault. I went for a gap that just wasn't there. But, I mean, what the hell? But it was serious deja vu for McLaren, because this happened with McLaren previously between Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton in exactly the same spot. So, it's just another nail in the coffin for Lando's title challenge this season, and he just can't get it together. He had the quicker car. Perhaps McLaren could have called it and said, look, let Lando through. If he can get past Kimi Antonelli, great. If he can't, let Oscar back through at the end of the race. Maybe they could have played it a little bit better, but they're up for a championship. Neither one's going to help the other. But all credit to Lando. At least he held his hands up and said it was his balls up. But what stupidity.
Yeah. Do we think now that we have had an incident with McLaren that we're going to see a pecking order possibly, or do you think they'll still just let them race?
No, I think they'll let them race, but I think they'll both get a stern warning of that you can do what you like, but you cannot make contact. But Oscar wasn't at fault. If Lando had been a bit more switched on, he could have either lifted or gone to the right. It was clear, even before he even made the move, that Oscar was going towards the pit wall. He was covering the inside line. It's just Lando didn't think quick enough on his feet.
Yeah. Fair, mate. Results for the weekend. Hit us with it for those that didn't see.
Yeah, so we had a pretty dominant lights to flag victory for George Russell, but under huge pressure from the Flying Dutchman is Max Verstappen, although we had plenty of controversy after the race. Kimi Antonelli got his first podium and also the third youngest podium in F1 history. Just really nailing down his place in F1 and proving that he's a star of the future. And then we had your man, Oscar Piastri, in P4, which then extended his championship lead by a further 10 points over Lando Norris. The two Ferraris in a very poor weekend for them with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. And in fairness, Lewis wasn't happy after the race because he hit a groundhog, which he said he was absolutely gutted about because he loves animals. And then we had what I think is two of the star performers of the weekend. You had Fernando Alonso, and again, you had Nico Hülkenberg scoring more points in the Sauber. So Sauber proving that they're back on track with not only a quick car around Barcelona, but they had a pretty decent car around Canada. And then rounding out the points was Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz in the Williams.
Very nice, mate. Now, going back on our predictions, how'd we go there?
I went awful, mate. Got completely. The only thing I got that made me look a little bit like I know what I'm talking about was I bet on Mercedes doing well this weekend. So at least I got that bit.
And absolutely they did. Kimi Antonelli, it was great to see him up there on the podium and his first podium. And the celebrations that happened afterwards, you see the normal celebrations where they get the photo and they had, everyone getting their massive group photo. But then you had sort of broke away from the main group and you had his engineers and his mechanics made him get into the car and they got a photo with him. I thought that was pretty cool and pretty special because they were celebrating him, not just the whole team being, the podium. So seeing him get his special moment was pretty cool.
It was cool. And it's also nice to see as well the developing relationship between him and Bono. You can kind of see that Bono, Lewis Hamilton's ex-engineer, is kind of very much becoming like a father figure for him. And he's really bringing out the best in the young Italian. I mean, I went into the season thinking it might be kind of like a bit of a crash and burn scenario. I thought he was going to spend a lot of time in the wall, but I suppose just like a lot of these teenagers, like when Verstappen came in years ago, when they've got it, and he's just proving to everybody he belongs there. But he's causing Mercedes issues because if they want Verstappen, they ain't going to kick him out at all.
That's right. Well, you talked about a bit of drama after the race. What's going on with the protest?
Well, thankfully, the race stewards in the FIA see sense because they threw it out. But Red Bull were obviously a bit pissed off in the weekend at the start because George was poking Max, saying about, well, I've got plenty of penalty points left on my licence. So I think Red Bull had a suspicion that there'd be a few shenanigans. And then behind the safety car, whether George did or didn't, who knows? I don't suppose we'll truly get the proper answer to it. But Verstappen thinks that Russell was playing a few games as the safety car was going a bit too slow. And Red Bull tried to appeal the result and get Russell thrown out for brake testing and erratic driving. It's all
interesting. Yeah, I'm glad that got thrown out because it was crap.
It would have made
Stroll trying to get those extra points, I guess. But
but there was no need for it. But after the race, when it came up that there was a post-race investigation for 7 cars and then the appeal from Red Bull, I was like, oh, great. The whole race result's going to change. And that's just not what F1 needs. You don't need all the political crap.
No, you don't. Mate, I've seen in some F1 news today, the F1 movie out at the moment, or premieres at the moment. All the F1 drivers were there. Well, most of the F1 drivers were there. They had F1 cars in Times Square. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, the F1 drivers were saying that it's the second time they've got to go and watch it in a month now. So I don't think they particularly wanted to go there. And I see the old adopted Australian Valtteri Bottas has been doing a few little posts on social media about being in America again.
Yeah. No, he's loving it. That's for sure. Are you going to go and see the movie?
I will be. I can't wait to see it. You've got to go there with a bit of an open mind because they say it's not a hardcore F1 fan kind of thing because it's a lot of drama. And you've got to believe the unbelievable that a 60-year-old Brad Pitt can drive an F1 car. But hey, I'm sure the action sequences would be brilliant.
Yeah. Hey, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, that'd be close to 60, wouldn't they?
The way Fernando's going at the moment, especially if he goes and extends his contract beyond 26, I think he'd be like 45, 46 by the end of his deal. It's just crazy.
It is crazy. Hey, he's obviously still performing though, so why not?
Yeah, Fernando just seems to get better with age. I think he's lost a little bit of his speed. I do think he's lost maybe a tenth or two in qualifying, but he's still smashing Lance Stroll. So if you're smashing Stroll, you're not doing a
Yeah.
bad job at all.
Talking about Stroll, we had a few things last week and talking about his hand and stuff. How did he go?
Rubbish. To put it bluntly, it was absolute crap. Crap in qualifying, crap in a race. He was going around with a plaster on his hand, so clearly his hand's not 100% just yet. But yeah, it was just so disengaged with the Canadians. And when he crashed in practice as well, you just see him just shaking their heads in disappointment. I don't think they truly get behind him either, myself personally.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, I think we talked about it last week. He is so disengaged and seems like he doesn't want to be there anymore. So
I don't think he does. But his dad, though, has won an award this weekend for the highest trousers ever.
I didn't
His
see
dad
that.
his dad was walking down the paddock in Ted's notebook on Sky. And you see his dad wandering down, and I'm just like, a man that's got so many billions in the bank and he can buy all the best suits in the world, and he's got his trousers up by his tits. I'm like, seriously, man?
Oh, that's gold. That's gold. Classic. I've seen a few photos in the paddock. I think it's Kim Illman, the F1 photographer, the Aussie fella, and he often posts different pictures of the paddock. I didn't see Lance Stroll's dad with his high pants, but I'm going to go and look now, see if I can find some images.
You have to go check it out. It's a cool guy. I can't believe it. He's got so. I mean, not only is he boring, but he's got terrible dress sense.
Yeah. What's coming up for F1, mate? What's our next race? End of the month, isn't it?
Yes. So next one up is going to be Austria, which is usually a good track. It's another track that I do like because it's a proper traditional racetrack. But the interesting one, this one, is it's the last one on the 12-month rolling period for Max Verstappen. So if he gets through Austria unscathed, then he gets 2 penalty points come off of his licence. Because rewind the clock 12 months ago, this is where Max and Lando had a bit of a tete-a-tete into the, I think it was turn 2, and decided to run each other off the road a couple of times. So Max can breathe a little bit easier if he gets through Austria unscathed.
He's just going to get through. We'll see if he can get through.
As long as he keeps clear of the McLarens and keeps clear of George Russell, we'll be all right.
Yeah. I think he'll be fine. We talked about it last week again, but I think Max being Max, he's still going to carry on a bit, but he'll get through fine. And he's starting to sneak up that the points, mate. Do you think he's gonna be featuring at the top of the list at the end of the year, or do you think we're still gonna have the McLarens run away a bit?
Nah, I still see McLaren. I can't see Max getting there. I mean, I think, in fairness, I think he's looking over his shoulder more because the likes of, even though Ferrari aren't good at the moment, Charles is certainly racking up the points decently. Then you've got George coming up fast, and Mercedes seem to be getting on top of their tyre warming issues because Canada was hot and they still managed to be fast, which is a good step in the right direction for them. So perhaps Max is looking over his shoulder more than up front. The only reason I think Max would, and the only chance he's got of getting anywhere close to those two McLarens is if they keep crashing into each other. I think there's more fireworks to come between Oscar and Lando as things become a bit dicier towards the end of the season. If Lando stays in touch and don't bottle it completely, I think we're probably going to get a proper on-track collision at some point. This weekend was just Lando misjudging it. And if you get a couple of those, look like we see with Rosberg and Hamilton, where they kept coming together during their championship year, then maybe Max might sneak in then. But at the moment, they've run away and hiding.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a massive incident with McLaren, and I think that it's going to make them choose a pecking order eventually. This year, I think there's going to be at least one more decent spill between them, and then I think there'll be some blow-ups pending for the rest of the year, I reckon. But
yeah,
time will tell. as per our predictions go, mate, they're usually pretty rubbish.
I don't think I've got one right in whole 2025 yet. I'm doing great.
I don't think I have either. So, I don't know. We'll just throw it up in the air and maybe draw one out of the hat. I'll probably end up with Lance Stroll or someone like that.
Could be worse. It could be Yuki Tsunoda at the moment because he's not doing much better in the Red Bull at the minute.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he's killing his career in that Red Bull this year.
Yeah. Well, Isaac Hadjar's doing well in the other Red Bull team, or the Racing Bulls. I think
he is.
He's performing well for his rookie year, and I did predict Liam Lawson to be in the top 10 at Canada, and that did not happen. And a few issues there. So
yeah, apparently they put a new engine in before the race, and then they had to retire it because apparently they put the cooling in the car wrong. They set the radiators or the cooling package up wrong, and it was cooking the engine. So whoever done that was obviously either wanting to go home early or decided to have a nap halfway through the installation.
Yeah, pretty average at that level. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, mate. We might leave it there for tonight. And thanks again for tuning in.
No worries, mate.
If you are still watching at this stage, please give us a like and subscribe. And Matt will be back for some more chats on F1 coming up in a few weeks with the next round. For now, mate, we'll go and watch the F1 movie and we'll get our F1 fix that way.
Yeah, that'll have to do us now for the next 2 weeks until Austria.
All right, mate. Take it easy and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, mate. See you soon.